Hey guys, so today I'm going to show you guys a few steps to edit your photos. Basically to make your colors pop a little more, make the photo a bit sharper. It's very simple. I'm using Lightroom 5 and Photoshop CS6, but you could definitely achieve this if you just have Lightroom or Photoshop. You don't need to use both of them, you could just use one of them. But I'm just used to using both of them, so that's what I'll show you guys. Alright, so let's get started. Usually I import my raw files into Lightroom, and that's where I begin my workflow. Um, so here we have an unedited photo, and I'll usually start off with the white balance. You can use these sliders to adjust it as you wish, but sometimes by just using this little marker and pointing at anything white, it should adjust it to the best settings. There you go. I just pointed there, and this photo is pretty dead on as it is with the white balance, so it didn't change much. I'll adjust this little slider a little bit just to cool it down a little bit more, and that's good enough for me. Then I go down to the exposure slider. I usually bump that up a little bit just to make the color a bit brighter. I also bump up my contrast a little bit. Alright. This little thing right here, the highlight slider, is pretty much for your white. This brings out the details in the whites. When you're doing wedding photography, this becomes pretty important when you're editing a wedding dress per se, where it's kind of hard to nail the details on it. So you just bring this down, and as you can see, you can start to see some details right over here in the white shirt. I don't overdo it, but I definitely bring it down a little bit like that. Alright. So now the shadows, it actually, in my opinion, does the complete opposite. It just brings out the details in the blacks. So I like my photos to have a lot of contrast, so I don't really bump it up too much. So let's leave that alone. When you bring down the black slider, that actually increases your contrast. So like I said, I like to have my photos with a lot of contrast. So I usually bump that down a lot. Alright, so that's it for that. You could also play around with your saturation. I usually just leave it alone. When you have a photo with predominant colors, kind of like this one that has a lot of yellows in the background, I like to selectively adjust those colors, the ambient light. So here we have the yellow, and I just like to bump it up just to make it a lot brighter. Okay. Alright, so I'll increase the orange as well. Just make sure that the skin tones stay consistent, and yeah, and that's about it. Alright, so now we go down here and we have your sharpening tool. This is very important. I usually bump it up pretty high. It also, you just got to be careful with the noise, because as you bump up your sharpening amount, it'll add a lot of noise to your picture. But if you're just using it, if you just posting this on the web, it really doesn't make much of a difference. But if you are to get like some big prints, it's gonna become an issue. So just be careful. These pictures I'm just sharing online, so it really doesn't make much of a difference. So I just usually bump it up, and it makes the picture a lot sharper. And that's about it for Lightroom. I then go here, double click on the picture, export. Alright, and it's going to bring up another window. And here you could just change the size of your picture. This is a preset that I've had forever, so I never really change it. But you could make it as big as you want or as small as you want. Pick the folder. It's already there. Export. I'm gonna override it. Let's override it. And that's it for that. It's saving. Now you could stop right here, or you could go into the next step if you have Photoshop. In my opinion, this is good enough like this. I just like to go the extra step with with Photoshop. So let's open up Photoshop. Alright, so I already have the picture here. Let me just close it off. Alright, so let me go find the picture. Open. Alright. Okay, so here's my my Lightroom edit. I've created these actions simply to make my life easier. Back when I first started doing this, I would go through every picture and just go step by step, and it would literally take me weeks to get through a batch of pictures. So now that I've been getting into wedding photography and shooting 1,000+ pictures and having to go through all those edits, I definitely had to get used to these actions, and they made my life so much easier. I'll probably do a tutorial on that somewhere down the line. It's pretty simple. So anyways, I'll just show you guys how easy it is with these things. Just pretty much click here and just click play, and it does everything for me. Alright, so that was pretty simple. I also have a black and white one. Hit play and it just makes it black and white. And I have this little cool one that I like a lot. It's kind of like a high pass filter. I'll show you guys what it does. It creates like this faded look to the picture. It's pretty neat. But anyways, that's it for that. Let me just close it off and show you guys what the steps that I do to just well, the final steps on Photoshop that I do. Alright, close that off. Don't save. File, open. Alright, so here's the picture. First things first, I'll go to filters up top, go down to sharpen, go down to unsharp mask, and bump that up a little bit more. As you bump it up, the noise gets worse, but like I said, I don't worry too much about that when I'm just sharing online. Usually I like to stay around 70. Let me just keep it a little low. It's very sharp as it is. And click OK. Now, one more thing. I'll go down here, duplicate this layer, and click on this little window right here and use this filter. It's called the soft light filter, and that just bumps up the contrast a lot. And then just to adjust it, I just decrease the opacity. This you could do to your liking. You could keep it all the way up. I usually just go down to like 30%, 30 to 40, and keep it at that. And I'm pretty happy with this right here. Now this is all preference. If it's too dark for you, you could just always go to image adjustments and play around with the curves and just lighten it up a little more. I guess that's good. And that's it. And just file, save as, and overwrite and replace. Okay. Alright. And that's it for that. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Just bear with me. This was my first video. I'm pretty sure I'll get better as I go along. If you guys have any questions, feel free to ask. And I guess I'll see you guys around. Okay. Bye bye.